Welcome back to the bloodiest countdown in history. In Part 1, we covered the absolute carnage of the Julio-Claudian dynasty and the chaotic year of the four emperors. If you missed the start of this bloodbath, the link is waiting for you below. The purple is still stained, and the list of victims is only getting longer. After the chaos of 69 AD, Rome finally got some stability with the Flavian Dynasty. Vespasian rebuilt the treasury, stabilized the borders, and started building the Colosseum, trying to convince the world that the daggers were finally put away. But every family has that one relative who ruins Christmas, and for the Flavians, that was Domitian. When Titus died at the age of 41 in the year 81 AD, Rome lost a hero, and Domitian found a throne. But he wasn't interested in the Senate's approval. Instead, he spent his afternoons in isolation, meticulously stabbing flies with a sharpened stylus. When a courtier asked if anyone was with the emperor, the famous reply was, "Not even a fly." Domitian was the first to openly demand the title Lord and God. He was a cold, efficient auditor who stabilized the Roman economy, but his foreign policy was a PR nightmare. After a messy campaign in Dacia, he signed a treaty that actually saw Rome paying annual subsidies and sending engineers to King Severus. To the Roman elite, this wasn't peace. It was a humiliating bribe to a barbarian king to keep the wolves at bay. Paranoia became his only companion. He lined his palace corridors with polished fengite stone, a translucent marble that acted as ancient rearview mirrors, allowing him to see anyone sneaking up behind him. But the threat wasn't behind him. It was in his inner circle. His own wife, Domitian, fearing for her life, backed a plot involving his most trusted servants. On September 18th, 96 AD, a steward named Stephanus approached the emperor with a fake bandage on his arm, hiding a dagger. Under the pretext of revealing a conspiracy, he struck. A brutal struggle ensued, ending only when the other conspirators rushed in to deliver 7 fatal blows. The Flavian dynasty was dead. The Senate immediately ordered a damnatio memoriae, erasing his name from every stone in the city. But the iron-fisted stability Domitian left behind gave Rome exactly what it needed: a clean slate for the era of the 5 good emperors. For the next century, Rome hit the ultimate geopolitical jackpot. Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, and the philosopher king Marcus Aurelius. In a city where emperors usually exited through a window or on the tip of a blade, these 5 achieved the impossible. They died of natural causes. This was the Golden Age, a race century where the throne was earned through adoption and merit, rather than just being the son of the right guy. It was the longest winning streak in human history, professional, stable, and incredibly lucky. But even the wisest ruler can have a blind spot for his own blood. Marcus Aurelius broke the meritocratic spell by leaving the empire to his biological son, a young man named Commodus. And just like that, the gold began to rust. Enter Commodus. Imagine a spoiled teenager with a massive god complex being handed the keys to the world's most powerful war machine. Unlike his father, the philosopher king, Commodus didn't care for governing. He wanted to be a superstar. He didn't just rule Rome. He rebranded it, renaming the eternal city Colonia Commodiana. Convinced he was the reincarnation of Hercules, he frequently appeared in public wearing nothing but a lion's skin and carrying a massive club. His ego was so bloated that he demanded the Senate recognize him as a living god, while he spent the imperial treasury on lavish games. But his true passion was the arena. Commodus fought hundreds of matches as a gladiator. Of course, the odds were slightly skewed. His opponents were given blunt wooden swords, while the emperor wielded sharpened steel. He also enjoyed hunting exotic animals from a safe distance, once famously decapitating an ostrich with a specialized arrow just to intimidate the watching senators. By 192 AD, his inner circle realized their god emperor was a lethal liability. On New Year's Eve, they tried to poison his wine, but the athletic emperor simply vomited the toxin up during a bath. Desperate, the conspirators sent in his personal wrestling partner, a man named Narcissus. In a final, grim irony, the man Commodus trusted to train him for the arena was the one who ended him. Narcissus overpowered the emperor in his bath, ending the reign of the Roman Hercules. The Golden Age didn't just fade away, it was choked to death in a bathtub. After the bathtub incident, the Praetorian Guard needed a puppet. They chose Pertinax, a self-made man and son of a freed slave. He was old school, disciplined, and unfortunately for him, cheap. He tried to fix the economy by cutting the guards' bonuses. Big mistake. Only 87 days into his reign, 300 soldiers stormed the palace. Pertinax didn't hide. He tried to reason with them. He was met with a spear to the chest. His head was paraded through Rome on a pike, a grim warning that discipline was no longer for sale. What happened next is the most embarrassing moment in Roman history. The Praetorian Guard literally put the Roman Empire up for auction. Didius Julianus, a wealthy senator, stood at the foot of the palace walls and started bidding against a rival. Julianus won by promising each soldier 25,000 sesterces, roughly 5 years' pay. He bought the world, but he couldn't buy respect. He spent his 66-day reign trembling in the palace as 3 different generals marched on Rome to take what he'd bought. When Septimius Severus reached the city, the Senate deserted Julianus. He was executed in his palace bathroom, sobbing, "But what evil have I done? Whom have I killed?" While Rome was being auctioned off, the wealthy East declared its own master, Pescennius Niger, the governor of Syria. Backed by 9 elite legions and the golden city of Anch, Niger was a formidable soldier, but he was a slow strategist, choosing to fortify the passes of the Taurus Mountains rather than striking Rome directly. It was a hesitation that Septimius Severus, moving with lightning speed, would not ignore. The two titans collided in Asia Minor. After bloody skirmishes at Cyzicus and Nicaea, the final showdown took place in 194 AD at Issus, the same legendary ground where Alexander the Great had once crushed the Persians. But lightning didn't strike twice for the man of the East. Severus's disciplined Danubian legions broke Niger's lines in a brutal mountain pass engagement. Defeated and desperate, Niger attempted to flee across the border to the Parthian Empire. But Severus's cavalry was faster. He was captured near Anch and executed. His head was promptly sent to Byzantium as a diplomatic message to the city, which was still holding out in his name. The East had fallen. Now, only one rival remained between Severus and total control. Then there was Clodius Albinus, the powerful governor of Britannia. Backed by the elite legions of the West, he was a massive threat. Septimius Severus, the man who eventually took Rome, knew he couldn't fight 2 wars at once. So, he offered Albinus the title of Caesar, making him the official heir to buy his loyalty. Albinus fell for the trap, staying in Gaul while Severus crushed Niger in the east. Once the threat was gone, Severus tore up the contract. The two met at the Battle of Lugdunum, one of the largest and bloodiest clashes in Roman history. Defeated, Albinus took his own life, and his body was trampled by Severus's horse. The last man standing was Septimius Severus, a grim general from Leptis Magna in North Africa. He was a man who understood that in Rome, power came from the edge of a sword, not a checkbook. He didn't just win a civil war. He founded the Flavian Dynasty, a new, iron-fisted era that would rule the empire for the next 4 decades. His first order of business: revenge. He dissolved the corrupt Praetorian Guard, stripping them of their fancy uniforms and replacing them with 15,000 of his own battle-hardened legionaries. Severus essentially turned Rome into a military autocracy, centralizing all power in the hands of the emperor and his loyal soldiers. Unlike the men he defeated, Severus didn't die by the blade. He died of gout in Roman Britain in 211 AD. On his deathbed, he left his sons, Caracalla and Geta, a final, chilling piece of advice that would define the legacy of the Flavian Dynasty: be harmonious, enrich the soldiers, and scorn all others. But he forgot to tell them how to share a throne. In Part 3, we dive into the blood-soaked rivalry of Caracalla and Geta, a fratricidal feud so bitter it would make even the worst Roman emperors blush. From there, we enter the crisis of the 3rd century, a 50-year spiral of civil war, plague, and breakaway empires where the title of emperor became a death sentence. It's an era where the Roman world almost shattered into pieces, and the daggers didn't just come from the shadows, they came from everywhere. If you want to see how the empire survived its most violent century, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss the most chaotic chapter in this series. The gold has turned to iron, and the iron is stained with blood. I'll see you in the next reign.